Pleased to be joined by Danny Ayalon, the former Israeli deputy foreign minister and the former ambassador to the United States from Israel. Ambassador, we thank you for joining us via telephone this morning here on America's Forum.
Thank you very much, JD. Pleasure.
Danny, let's start with that terror attack on the bus yesterday. What are the latest developments as you understand them?
Well, of course, the terrorist was arrested, so he's under investigation now. It seems like he is a Hamas member. His family is a well-established Hamas family, so we see it as a direct result of the continued incitement, both by Hamas and also the Palestinian Authority, including Mr. Abbas, who is glorifying all these terrorists, giving them money and their families, and actually supporting them.
Yes,
please.
Are you expecting more of these attacks?
Well, hi, Miranda. Yeah, I'm afraid so, because the reason we do not see these attacks on a daily basis is only because of our security and defense establishment. It's a matter of preemption, prevention, intelligence. We know it from Paris. We know it from New York here, 9/11, and anywhere else around the globe. When there is an opportunity, Islamists will strike.
Let's return to the story developing here in the United States, Mr. Ambassador. Obviously, Speaker Boehner met the press to talk about his invitation to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But what is your reaction to that invitation and to the comments the president made about Iran during the State of the Union address?
Well, I think this is a very important development. I think there should be an eye contact, a meeting face-to-face between Israel and the United States on this most crucial issue for both countries and indeed for the entire international community. So I think this would be a good opportunity for the Prime Minister, hopefully to discuss it with the President and, of course, with our friends in Congress that also have a say. I know that there was a little bit of a ruckus here about the protocol issues, but really this is out of the reach of Israel. I mean, we have no say about who is giving the invitation and how, but of course we are very pleased with it. And about Iran itself, I think no option should be taken off the table because this will only toughen their position. And right now I think there is an opportunity with the oil prices sliding below a $50 mark and probably continue to be there. The Iranians do not have too many cards to play with. Then this is the time where they are desperately needing a deal. And a deal, which would be a good deal, is dismantling their infrastructure, not just suspending, so they can keep the option for the future. So this is the time not to say what we will not do to take options off the table, but to keep them guessing.
Danny, how are Israelis reacting to President Obama's recent State of the Union address and his, as JD mentioned earlier, his specific comments about Iran?
Well, there was a concern. There was absolutely a concern, and they didn't know what to make of it because, as I mentioned, right now, what we see that the Iranians would be more pliable, and if you give them a way out, then there is no way to really have the ends meet. And we know that they're trying to get out of the deal and to get actually all their capabilities intact.
Ambassador, we're going to ask you to stand by. We appreciate the fact that you're going to stay with us through the break to talk more about the relationship between the United States and Israel. And indulge us, if you would, sir, to our viewers here in the United States, domestic politics, with the president in a showdown with Congress. A lot of people here are starting to look to 2016. Republicans Mitt Romney and Jeb Bush are meeting in Utah this week to discuss that very topic. Might they both run for president? And if they do, if you had your choice between Mitt and Jeb, for whom would you vote? That's the subject of our Newsmax poll. We're going to be telling you more throughout the broadcast how you can vote in that poll. And there's more ahead with Danny Ayalon and Congressman Pete Hoekstra on America's Forum. The former Israeli deputy foreign minister and the former ambassador of Israel to the United States. Danny, as always, we appreciate your time. Thanks for staying with us here on America's Forum.
You are most welcome.
Danny, there have been deadlines extended a couple of times in these talks with Iran, and now the Obama administration says there may be a preliminary agreement in March. Do you believe that's possible?
Well, certainly it is possible if the P5+1 led by the United States, that means the entire international community, will not stand on its principles and will acquiesce with the Iranians' demands, which is both to keep their capability vis-a-vis the uranium enrichment facilities and also the plutonium, the Iraq facility, which is just as dangerous. An agreement can be reached if the Iranians will insist, and we will get a permission by the international community to continue and enrich to a level which is exceeding the 3% enrichment, and to keep stockpiles of substantial amounts. So I think all these things should be actually cleared out before any agreement. And as I mentioned before, JD, this is the time to push Iran, because I think with the right pressure, they will have to accept it. They have done it before in 2003 when they thought there was a credible threat from the United States.
But in your opinion, Danny, can Iran be trusted?
No, Iran cannot be trusted. This is why a very important element in any agreement will be a verification process and monitoring, which will be airtight. It's not very easy, but it can be done. Of course, we can never have 100% certainty, but I think with the right measures and enough people on the ground, monitors on the ground, it could be done.
Danny, you're here in New York, and we appreciate you joining us by phone from the Big Apple. But back home, there were reports last week that an Iranian general met his fate as there was an attack, a retaliatory attack by Israel in Syria, part of your nation's ongoing right proclaiming your self-defense. With that in mind, you have these Iranian nuclear talks. You also have the Free Syria Army monitoring the border, says that Iranian, Lebanese, and perhaps even Russian soldiers are massing at the border. As incredible as that sounds, what are you hearing from home? Would you be surprised if some sort of military moves are made against Israel by Iran and perhaps, conceivably, even Russia with some involvement?
Well, Russia, it would be a little bit of a stretch, although the Russians are massively ship arms to both the Assad regime and the Iranians, massive shipments that end up with the hands of Hezbollah, Hamas, many other terror organizations all over. But with the Iranians, they have attacked before, Iranian and Hezbollah actually, which is the Shiite terror organization in Lebanon, which is now actually fighting also in Syria. They are, for all practical purposes, an arm of Iran, and they have attacked before. I am not sure that they will dare a frontal attack against Israel, because they know what would be the consequences. But they can do, again, sneak attacks, as they have done before, on Israeli targets around the world, like they bombed the Israeli embassy in Argentina, and they tried to take out Israeli diplomats all over the world. This is something that is of great concern to us.
Former Israeli Ambassador Danny Ayalon, who also served as the former deputy foreign minister for that nation. Danny, as always, we appreciate the fact that you join us here on America's Forum and the clarity and candor you offer about some very difficult issues emerging in the news and the tough things that have happened to your homeland. And you've always been a welcome guest, and we appreciate it. We look forward to our next visit. We trust it will be under much more pleasant circumstances. Thank you very much for your time, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Former U.S. Israeli Ambassador Danny Ayalon, who served his country well here, representing those interests here in this nation. When we come back, my old House colleague, Pete Hoekstra, he'll talk about that invitation to the Israeli Prime Minister and also a showdown in Congress over Iranian sanctions.